Hello, this is Daniel Raphael, presenting Social Sustainability Lesson number 3. Chapter 13, Initiating a Local Social Sustainability Design Team. It's remarkable that in a population of 100 people, there are only about 1% of that, one person out of that 100 who is a natural leader, someone who sees something in their community that needs to be done and initiates taking action to do something about it. This is the person to whom this will appeal. It begins with a person in their community, their company, their church, their social or service organization, school, or social agency. They have watched these lessons and they've determined that they would like to start and initiate their own design team in their local community. They want to have people there with them who are concerned about similar issues to resolve those issues and to bring about socially sustainable designs that will be able to perpetuate themselves way into the future. Okay? So where does a person begin? First, they begin by having a time of personal reflection where they begin to think about their community and they list the issues. Okay? They list them and they reflect on them. And third, they prioritize them. Then what happens? Then they want others to be with them, to assist in the process of designing this. They want others to participate with them in the design team process. So what they would do is go out and meet other people who have similar interests. You want everybody to be on the same page, okay? So that the issues that you've talked about are concerns of theirs. And perhaps they might have a different priority list, but they would agree with your list in full. And then you would discuss these with them, and they would recommend other people who may want to participate in a team. And then what do? You set the time and date for a social gathering. And at this social gathering, you will discuss the issues, the concerns, the perspectives of everyone to determine some kind of a consensus on the topic that they want to work on. And you want to be able to get to know each individual so that everybody is kind of on the same page. And it becomes natural that some people realize that this is not for them. Perfect. They can opt out. What you want in a design team is people who can work easily together and produce results. So at this social gathering, you will discuss the team, design, roles, and functions. Okay? Because the team, as we discussed in the previous lesson, has specific functions and particular roles and how they operate. And it is this dynamic of the team roles that make it possible with a schematic to have a synergistic effect where the results are greater than all the total of the individuals alone. Okay? What else would you do here? What we're going to do is 6. We're going to set a time and date. And a location where you're going to meet for your first team meeting. And then when you get to the team meeting, then you begin exercising the roles. What you have already done in your social meeting was to have discussed who has the best experience and expertise and knowledge and wisdom for each of the specific roles. Chapter 14, the design team environment. What you'll find is that on team, that it has an optimum number of people involved in the team. The optimum number is between 5 and 11. The best numbers seem to be 7, 8, or 9 people in the environment. Why is this? Why is these numbers particularly important in the design team? Well, it happens that if there are too few people, then you don't have enough input, and the roles aren't filled, and there's not enough interaction between the team people, team roles, and the function and the schematic. If you have too many people, on the other hand, it becomes a social environment that is too fluid. There's too many sidebar conversations, and even in a worst case scenario, there might be a development of some cliques within the team, and that is counterproductive. Okay? When you think of a design team, think of a diverse group of people who tend to have a lot in common. The reason why you want diversity is because your team represents a microcosm of our society with the same values and beliefs and assumptions. But it's those things that we'll be getting to examine in the design team process as we use the schematic. Within the design team, in the process, you'll be involved in 2 environments. One is the work environment, work production environment, and the other is the social environment. If you're too social, having a good time, you won't get any work done. And if you're getting a lot of work done, that's good. But people need to interact so they understand each other and can observe each other to witness their nonverbal behaviors. Okay? It's not that we want everybody to be thinking alike and have the same assumptions, because that would lead to a lot of errors too. Okay? So when you think of having the work production and the social environment, the team, each individual begins to think of the team to create and devise a working team environment that supports both the social end of it and the work production end of it. In this team environment, what are some things that are very important for people to be truly productive? The first is they must feel safe emotionally and socially. When people feel emotionally and socially safe in a group, they will share what's in their heart, what's in their minds, without fear of criticism from others, without fear of rejection or being belittled. The social environment, socially being safe, is that, oh, someone might say derogatorily, oh, you're just an inquiring member. Oh, who are you? Well, that isn't productive, okay? So that is not going to work. So what we want is a safe environment where people can be transparent, authentic, and genuine. And this is created consciously by all the team members being on the same wavelength, okay? So what are the tools of a team? It's very simple. Okay? Tools of the team are the team members. Team environment. Okay. Now here's an interesting part, is the self-awareness of team members as they interact with others, meaning that they're aware of themselves interacting with others. They're neither boastful or argumentative, they're helpful and genuinely contributory, okay, to the best outcomes of the team. So it's conscious, it's not being self-conscious, but be conscious of yourself. It's self-awareness. Very fundamental, basic tool for personal growth and team growth. And then the other is, okay, so it's self-awareness. And awareness of others. Team. You are a group of individuals who are working together as a team. And it is just like an engine. It has various individual unique parts, but they work together, produce traction for the car to move down the highway. Chapter 15, roles and functions of team members. There's only 4 specific roles, okay? And what is unique about the team situation in a design team, there's no leader, okay? No leader. No El Jefe, no manager, no director. All the team members participate equally. They are all individually responsible for leading, working together in the team so it moves forward, okay? And another thing is that usually the organizer does not become the facilitator or the leader. The organizer just organizes the initiation of the team and how it functions and where it takes place and so on, and then steps aside and lets the team work and do its thing. The organizer would then participate perhaps in a role, but it may be just that the organizer becomes an extinguisher, becomes a distinct member of the team to ask questions. The art of inquiry is primary to the production of what the team does, okay? First major role that everybody plays a part in is the inquiring member, okay? The art of inquiry, of investigation, is incredibly important. Basically, no questions, no answers. If there's no questions, there's not going to be any outcome, okay? So we'll get to how to answer questions in a little bit, okay? So everybody learns how to ask questions, the art of inquiry. The art of inquiry. 2, recorder. This person will be selected almost immediately, and they'll begin their work almost immediately when the team meets. They will be taking notes, not verbatim notes. No, verbatim notes would mean that the recorder would be outside of the interaction. The recorder is there to record the ahas, the insights, the conclusions, the connectivity of the ideas that are flowing in the team. The recorder holds a very important position as the observer of the team. They're observing the function of the team and watching how it flows. Now, oftentimes in a highly productive team, you will have individuals who will explain something, and then somebody will chime in and going, oh, yeah, that reminds me of, and then they start another line of inquiry. The recorder's purpose there is to ensure that this line of inquiry is recorded so that later on the team can come back and pick up where they left off. And the recorder's notes would help the team do that, okay? Facilitator. The facilitator facilitates 2 functions. One is the work production and the social environment. And if the team gets too social and off course, then the facilitator would facilitate them getting back on course. Okay? They're involved particularly with keeping the function of the team moving forward to accomplish completion of the schematic. They don't have to be a taskmaster. They don't have to be mean. That's counterproductive. They just facilitate what the team is doing, helping individual members to develop their inquiry skills. Okay? And the 4th one is the consultant. This is a unique position. This consultant is a person who has some wisdom or knowledge about the topic of inquiry and acts as an observer much as the recorder does, and is not aloof but is distant from the fray of the work of the team. They also ask questions. They also are involved in discussions, but they take the long view, because the work of the team, they're working on social sustainability. And when we say sustainability, we mean the good functioning of a social agency or design or process 50 years, 250 years, 500 years. So the consultant helps put things in perspective. They're in many ways acting as though they're living in the future, looking back, advising the team how to proceed to achieve their goal. Chapter 16, effective team members. Effective team members do not take positions. They are non-competitive and non-judgmental and non-argumentative. They are not argumentative, okay? They're transparent concerning team issues and the discussion. They do not have hidden agendas. They remain focused. They're team players, and they understand the difference. This is very important. They understand the differences between dialogue, conversation, and discussion. Those are three distinctly different interactions of people and sharing their thoughts and their minds. Team members are, as I said before, they're self-observing, they're aware of themselves interacting with others, they're aware of themselves interacting with the team. They're able to do their own thinking, they question their thinking and their opinions and their assumptions. This is a very important part because it allows the team to be less confrontive. When you express a belief about something, there are almost always underlying assumptions about that. And if you're observing about yourself presenting a belief, then you'd also want to say, oh yes, and I think my assumptions about that are such and such, rather than having someone else point that out. But of course, as that is necessary, then they would say, well, have you ever thought about these assumptions? I think those may be underlying your thinking, and you'd write those down, okay? An effective team member also is able to stop action, take time out with the team and say, whoa, wait a minute, I need to think this out. Would you help me do this? So they're able to have the self-authority to participate effectively that way in the team. Sometimes it's necessary to stop, go apart, and reflect on what's happening. 17, the design team process. Because there is no team leader involved, then everybody is involved in doing their roles, participating in the team, working the schematic, so that everybody has a relationship. It's like people on a stage. There are characters and roles that they play, and they have specific functions. But there's no leader on a screenplay, except the director. And in this case, in a design team, there's not even a director. Okay? So the design team process is the interaction of team members exercising their roles as they work a topic through the schematic. The design team process begins as team members use their knowledge, wisdom, experience to respond to the schematic. When they have exercised all of that, then they must go out and do research, process research on the internet or libraries to expand their knowledge about the topic that they're working on. What is not visible in the team description and in the schematic is the dynamic synergism that develops and emerges in the team environment as it works through the schematic and people using their roles. It strengthens the bond between team members, and every team member becomes more effective. I want to explain now the process of inquiry. Inquiry is asking questions. It is not taking a position. It is not argumentative. It does not espouse any particular end result that they want to have developed. In other words, there's no agenda involved in the inquiry. Okay? So it is not adversarial. Inquiry is the thoughtful inquiry procedures that create competent, cogent questions that make it possible to generate numerous answers and perspectives from the schematic. The more competent and capable the method of inquiry and questions, the more synergism the schematic can provide. No questions, no answers. So you got to learn how to ask questions. I have a friend who's working on a book that is entitled The Art of Inquiry that is geared towards this topic. Chapter 18, Working the Schematic to Reveal Beliefs and Assumptions. Now, as you look at the schematic, you'll see that everything above the dotted line is pretty straightforward. It's got the global statement of project, it's got the area of sustainability, the social project being designed for sustainability, the venue, statement of intention, and then the project title goes up here because you'll be keeping a hard copy file of this eventually. But when you get down to number 6, criteria for fulfillment, 7, expectations, and 8, beliefs, and 9, values, this is where it is the difficult area for people to deal with because they know what their values are, but oftentimes what happens is that when you have a value, you always have many beliefs that come from that. And out of beliefs there are, well, look at that, assumptions. There's assumptions under there. And so many times the assumptions that we learned as children, we never are aware of. We just accept them blindly and unconsciously. And so the assumptions that work help sustainability. The assumptions that don't work toward and support social sustainability, those are the ones that will defeat our designs for a sustainable society, whether it's from the family or whether it's a whole civilization. Then out of every belief, there are many expectations. How do we fulfill these beliefs? Well, we expect certain behaviors to fulfill this belief. And over here on criteria for fulfillment, that's where we write them down. And this is how we know how to measure the fulfillment of our beliefs and our values. Okay? I'm going to use an example today. One that is socially sensitive in our culture, in our society, okay? The question has to do with procreation education. Should people, children, know about the processes of procreation before pregnancy? Hello? Maybe they should. As we will see, as we work through this topic, we'll accomplish 2 things. We will be filling in the schematic, this part here below, and we'll be discovering our beliefs and our assumptions that are important for us to acknowledge, write down, and then test. We will test them against the 3 core values: quality of life, growth, and equality. These are the primary 3 values that support social sustainability. This is what makes us Homo sapiens. This is a part of our species. This is who we are. And these are necessary for us to grow as individuals and as families, communities, and whole societies. So when would we share this awareness of procreation with children? Would it be at age 20, 18, 16, 12, 8, 6, age 4? Well, almost immediately you're thinking in your mind, oh my gosh, that would be inappropriate. Okay? What is the assumption? What is the belief that underlies that opinion that you have? Okay? It's very important to write those down because we want clarity about it. Because one of the largest problem that is ongoing in our world now is overpopulation. We'll talk about that later in the second part of this lesson today. Okay? What and when should children be aware? What should they be aware of and when? Perhaps there's age-specific information that would be useful for them at a later age, which would be inappropriate at early age. How would you determine that? How you determine that depends on your beliefs and your assumptions, and those must be discussed. Why are we doing this? Okay? Why are we doing this? We are doing this so that we have a common base of understanding among all of us in our society. As you know right now, there's huge arguments in legislatures about sex education. Well, I don't even like to use that word because it's such a loaded word. I rather use the word procreation because what we want to do in a socially sustainable society is bring children into existence at the most opportune time for the mother and father to raise them to become socially sustainable and mature. And that would require that the mother and father be old enough themselves to do that. Children raising children does not create a socially mature society. Now, as you think about these topics And I don't know, some of you are already thinking about your childhood and how you were informed about having children, babies. You have certain resistances, okay? And these will come out as your team members discuss them. What does a resistance look like? It looks like denial, deflection, referral to outside authority, arguing, projection, labeling, name-calling. Okay? When resistance occurs, this is evidence of very particular beliefs and assumptions that are going on within that individual. And those will come out in the team, and they'll be written down, and you will test them against the 3 core values. Okay? How do these come about? How do different beliefs, everybody has the same value. If we have the same values, how do we have different beliefs and different assumptions? Well, it has to do with our own personal experience, our knowledge, and our wisdom as we were raised as children concerning this topic. Okay? So we want to compare those, we want to explore those assumptions and beliefs so that we can have a common understanding, so that we can discuss these without arguing. If there's arguments going on, then your social design will not work, because that argumentation will be projected into the future. Okay? So we must test our beliefs and our assumptions against the 3 core values to see if they are supported by these values. It's as simple as that. Okay? The end result is what works. You might think, well, Daniel, this is very idealistic, but when you work this, you're trying to design social processes, social organizations and institutions, policies and laws that work, that support a society indefinitely into the future. Okay? The schematic provides the format for doing that, and your facilitator will help you keep on task. Concerning dialogue, conversation, and discussions, the dialogue, formal dialogue that is a definite process for disclosing beliefs and assumptions is written very, very clearly by David Bohm in his little book called On Dialogue. David Bohm was a physicist, but he was also deeply involved with people, trying to understand and understand questions and answer them about life. Okay? What will happen in the team as you work through all these beliefs and assumptions and come to clarity and to commonality, understanding, is that you will end up with the opposite of resistance. You'll end up with flow. Flow is that synchronistic, serendipitous experience that you have when you work on something and you look at your watch and it's 2.5 hours later. What happened? That was the flow. We love experiencing that as individuals. It takes on a certain glow of what we're doing. And it happens in teams when team members have a basic understanding. They know what is coming up ahead. They know their work is on target, that it's useful and effective, and they have confidence in what they're doing. This is what good teamwork generates. Thank you.